This set of videos is for the iSECURE project funded by the NSF and for the students participating in the implementation of the Ultimate Course Search tool and our data collection to determine the effectiveness of the tool. We're going to talk about your learning preferences in general and then specific to the inventory that we requested that you complete for us. We're also going to talk about how you can use that material when studying in general, but also when using the Ultimate Course Search tool. The other sets of videos in this series will discuss the particular learning preferences within the learning inventory and help you understand how best to focus your learning and your studying. So when we talk about learning preferences, we talk about things like how do you like to interact with material? How do you learn information best? Which types of materials help you learn best? What can you do to increase your learning when you study? These questions and the other ones that you completed when you completed the Learning Styles Inventory help us to understand the best ways to choose materials for you and the ways that you learn. The learning inventory is divided into 4 sections, and the information that you received back from us, we'll talk about in just a little bit, gave you an indication of your particular learning preferences in 4 sets. So there are 4 sets of learning styles, and people tend to move towards one or the other, or tend to have a balance. So I'm going to discuss the 4 sets very briefly, and then talk about your particular scores that you received. So there are 4 types of learning styles and 2 preferences within each set. Active and reflective is the first set of learning preferences. Active learners like to interact with new material, while reflective learners like to think about applying that material. The second set of learning preferences is sensing and intuitive. Sensing learners like material that applies to the real world, while intuitive learners enjoy learning new material and dislike repetition. The third set of learning preferences is visual and verbal. Visual learners remember material presented through pictures or demonstrations, while verbal learners tend to remember written and spoken explanations. The last set of learning preferences for the ILS is sequential and global. Sequential learners like to link information in logical steps, while global learners like looking at the big picture and how it related to larger themes before understanding all of the details. Everyone varies between different learning preferences at different times. We would hope that eventually you would be able to create a balance between all of the different learning preferences. But take a look at your scores and we'll talk about what those scores mean in relation to your learning preferences. There is no right or wrong way to learn, but there is a more effective way for you to learn based on the information that you provided for us. When you understand your learning preferences, you're able to customize what you choose to study and how you study and what materials you use to utilize your time more effectively. So when you received your results from us on a piece of paper, this graphic was at the top and we had circles over the numbers. So if you look at the first part, the ACT, which is active, and the REF, which is reflective, the larger the number towards whichever side shows you the preference. For example, if you had a 9A for that first set of preferences, that means you're a much more active learner than a reflective learner. If, however, you received a line directly in the middle, that means that the results that you gave us show that you're balanced between the two. Or if you ended up having an 11B for reflective, meaning that you are a very reflective learner and probably not active learning at all. So the next set of videos, each video is going to take a different set of preferences and talk about the best ways for you to study. what we would hope that you would do with this information is to integrate it into the ultimate course search that you will be using for us. The idea is that you'll be able to place a search term into the box and receive information on where that search term is in videos, in the electronic textbook, as well as PowerPoints and other materials. Depending on the type of learning preferences that you have, the materials that you choose to look at first should be reflective of that type of learning. That way, your studying is much more effective, and you don't spend quite so much time utilizing materials that might not be so effective for you. Thank you for participating in the National Science Foundation's NSF Secure iSECURE project, a collaboration between NJIT, Montclair State University, and the College of Staten Island, CUNY, New York.